Hi, I'm James Kahn, and these are my stories. And this is the story about the day that I died. I can laugh now. It took place in LA a few days before my emergency medicine residency at UCLA. I had taken the previous year off to help create this residency, and I was going to be one of the first second-year residents at the residency and train the first-year residents. So before everything started, we had a big party at the house of one of the professors. Might have been the 4th of July. It was right around early July. So it was a hot day. I was kind of nervous because I helped create this program, but also it was a lot of high power academic doctors, and I wasn't totally used to that anymore. It had been a while since I've been in that kind of high pressure situation. Some of these doctors I really respected. Some of them I was just a little bit intimidated by. And so I'd had just a shot of bourbon beforehand to relax me a little bit. So I went into the house and opened the door, and it was just like filled with marijuana smoke. These guys aren't stoned at work all the time, you understand? This was a party, and it was back in the 70s. But it was like, whoa, I hadn't seen that in a while. But I started to mingle, and everyone's really happy and having a great time and smoking and drinking. And someone offers me a toke, and I have one to be sociable. And then a little bit later, someone offers me another one, and I don't really want more, but to be sociable, I figure I have to. But then I realized, that's as much as I can take. And I go into the kitchen, and in the kitchen is standing one of the professors that is really intimidating to me. He's a smart guy, but he's also kind of aggressive. And he says, "Oh, you got to try this great Oaxacan shit that I just picked up." And I don't want to, but I don't want to offend this guy. So I take a hit. And as soon as I do, I realize,
Boy, that was really a mistake.
and I'm going to pass out soon. But I realize across the kitchen is the door to the living room, and just outside the door is a couch. If I can just make my way across the kitchen and flop down on the couch, I'll be fine. So I say, "Excuse me," and I start walking across the kitchen. But halfway across the kitchen, everything goes black. There's like a veil drops down. But I keep walking, and my first thought is, this is really interesting. I can't see, but I can keep walking. And there must be a really important evolutionary reason for this. Like there's an adaptive value to walking more than seeing. Like maybe it's more important to run from your predator than it is to see. And just as I think that, I walk into the wall and hit the deck again. So now the next thing I know, I'm lying on my back, and this group of people is surrounding me. This starts to be a recurring theme in my stories. The same thing happened when I passed out in my ESP story. But anyway, now I'm surrounded by all the doctors from the emergency room at UCLA, and they're all doing doctor things. So someone is checking the pulse at my wrist, someone is checking my pupil, someone says, "Oh, there's one at every party," someone's loosening my collar, but they're basically taking care of someone who passed out the way doctors would. And my wife Jill is standing at the end. It's like she's not really jumping up and down, but she can't get in past this crowd of doctors to make sure that I'm okay. I'm looking at all of them where they are, and I can hear what they're saying. And Larry, who's taking my pulse, I can feel my pulse tapping against his finger, and I feel my pulse tapping slower and slower. And I'm thinking, well, this is really understandable. I just had a vasovagal reaction, and it's a physiological thing, and I've got all this vagal tone from the marijuana, and maybe a little bit of a floppy vasculature from the drink I had before as well. So I'm not too concerned about my pulse going slower. But then it's starting to go really slow. And then Larry says, "Hey, his pulse is getting really slow." And someone says, "Yeah, well, he just had a vasovagal experience." And then I realize it's getting so slow that it's going to stop. I'm going to have what's called a vasovagal arrest, in which it gets so slow from all this vagal output that it just stops. And then I realize these people around me are going to freak out. They're going to start, pounding on my chest, and they're going to have to call 911, or they're going to think, "Oh my God, how's this going to look in the papers? The guy dies from a drug overdose in the emergency medicine, blah, blah, blah." So, and I want them to know they shouldn't freak out because I'm feeling fine. I feel serene, and this is really fascinating and interesting, and I'm good with this. It's okay. And I hope they don't feel too bad. And then my pulse stops, and Larry says, "I can't get a pulse." And someone says, "There must be a pulse. Check his carotid." So he checks my carotid, and someone starts unbuckling my pants to check my femoral, and someone says, "Check his femoral." And he says, "I still can't get a pulse." And I'm thinking, it's cool. It's cool. And then all of a sudden, I have what's called a sinus escape. That if you're pulseless for long enough, 20 or 30 seconds or whatever it is, suddenly another little sinus node in your heart takes over, and it starts beating really fast, like 160 a minute, to take over, and then everything gets back to its regular speed. And then Maria, I think, says, "Oh wait, there it is. I've got a pulse. He's got a sinus tach." And someone says, "Yeah, I knew he had a pulse. Of course he has a pulse." And so then they all pick me up and carry me to the couch where I was intending to flop to begin with, and I kind of hold court there for the next while. And the fascinating thing is, as far as they were concerned, I was completely unconscious. My eyes were closed. I was unresponsive. But from my perspective, I could see and hear everyone and what they were saying and what they were doing. I tried to explain it to them on the couch as they came by, and some of them corroborated what they had said or done, and some of them just nodded politely, like, there, just relax, have some water. And then, I was fine after that and left the party early, and that's the story about the day that I died. Thanks for listening, and I hope you come back. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell icon so you'll be notified when the next one comes up. Thanks a lot.